28 Days Later wasn't just a zombie movie, it was a biological nightmare that predicted the next 20 years. Director Danny Boyle didn't stumble into horror, he detonated a new era. Shot on consumer-grade cameras you could buy at Best Buy. London emptied at dawn for minutes before traffic returned. A virus born from rage, not death, and a cast thrown into emotional chaos with almost no safety net. These are 20 secret facts about 28 Days Later. Number 1. Months after 9/11, panic hung in the air like smoke that wouldn't clear. Director Danny Boyle and screenwriter Alex Garland didn't imagine monsters crawling from graves. They imagined people breaking under pressure they couldn't name. Their virus came from modern anxieties. Eco-terror, riots spreading through cities, fear moving faster than logic ever could. The apocalypse didn't begin with zombies shambling through graveyards. It began with human anger turned contagious, spreading through blood and spit and eyes. The scariest part wasn't the infected twitching in alleys. It was recognizing the world already felt one spark away from collapse. Garland wrote the script in weeks, channeling paranoia he couldn't shake after watching news footage of global unrest. Boyle read it and saw something urgent, something that demanded to be made before the feeling passed. Because 28 Days Later didn't invent the apocalypse, it just filmed what already felt inevitable. Number 2. Producers initially leaned toward a recognizable American lead for Jim. They wanted safety, a face audiences knew from romantic comedies or action films. Danny Boyle ignored that advice entirely. He chose an unknown Irish stage actor with haunted eyes and a face like a ghost. Lead actor Cillian Murphy had barely done film work. Boyle saw something raw in him, a quality that made terror feel intimate instead of cinematic. Murphy's blank slate innocence made every revelation land harder. The studio pushed back. They wanted a star. Boyle refused to budge. He screened Murphy's stage work for skeptical executives, pointing out the vulnerability in his performance that no established actor could fake. Murphy signed on without reading the full script, trusting Boyle's vision more than the pages. A movie about losing the world began with a face no one recognized, on purpose. Number 3. Those shots of deserted London are real. No CGI, no digital crowds removed in post-production. Crews closed iconic streets at dawn, often for only minutes before traffic returned and drivers started honking. Westminster Bridge, Piccadilly Circus, the financial district, all empty, all real. The drivers were furious, police were impatient, tapping watches and threatening to reopen the streets. Boyle wanted rawness, not polish. He wanted London to look abandoned, not dressed up to look abandoned. The crew worked in 4-hour windows, racing against sunrise and morning commuters. Those few minutes of empty London became iconic. They felt apocalyptic because they were impossible, stolen from reality before reality could take them back. Some permits were stretched beyond their legal limits, with production assistants stationed blocks away to warn of approaching authorities. To show society collapsing, they nearly caused some road rage riots themselves. Number 4. No polished 35mm film cameras. No Panavision rigs. This apocalypse ran on Canon XL1 mini-DV camcorders. Consumer-grade equipment you could walk into a store and buy for a few $1,000s. Boyle wanted rawness, chaos, smear, and digital grain that felt violent and unstable. Cheap digital turned nightmare into something that felt documented rather than directed. The cameras were small, lightweight, easy to hide in corners, or strapped to actors' chests. Cinematographer Anthony Dodd Mantle embraced the limitations. He shot handheld, let light bleed and bloom, pushed the sensors until the image broke apart into noise. Suddenly, horror wasn't cinematic spectacle. It was something you could stumble into with a camcorder and survive just long enough to press record. Traditional cinematographers dismissed the approach as amateurish until they saw the final cut and realized it changed everything. The world ending looked believable because it looked cheap. Number 5. Fox doubted everything. Pacing felt too slow, the tone felt too bleak. Executives pushed for more action, less silence, less time spent watching characters walk through empty streets trying to understand what happened. Boyle refused to cut scenes. He insisted dread was the point, quiet terror that crawled under your skin instead of jumping at you. Garland backed him up. They argued the film needed space to breathe, to let emptiness sink in before filling it with violence. The studio relented barely. Test screenings went better than expected. Early focus groups praised the slow build, calling it refreshing compared to typical horror pacing. Studio notes kept arriving anyway, suggesting cuts and additions that would broaden appeal and increase pace. Boyle filed most of them without reading past the first paragraph. A studio terrified of boredom financed one of the most influential horror films ever made. Number 6. Actors never studied zombie films. Boyle forbade it outright. He didn't want shuffling corpses or undead moans. Movement coaches worked with the cast playing infected to invent new rules of motion. They practiced bursts of speed, frozen stillness, twitching fury, all born from rehearsal chaos instead of reference footage. Nothing undead, only pure, rabid humanity stripped of thought. Boyle wanted unpredictability, wanted audiences to never feel safe even when nothing was moving on screen. The actors playing infected trained like athletes. They learned to twitch on command, to hold unnatural poses, to move in ways that looked wrong without being cartoonish. The infected weren't monsters. They were people broken by rage they couldn't control. Number 7. That iconic infection via eyeball moment terrified the crew more than anyone expected. Fake blood near actors' faces means real risk if timing fails. Performers felt genuine panic about splashes hitting too close, about contamination rules being broken. Medical advisors stood by with rinse kits and protocols. The actors had to trust the stunt coordinator completely, had to hold still while blood splattered toward their faces at high speed. Some takes went perfectly, some takes didn't. They kept reshooting until everyone's nerves were frayed and the tension on set felt as thick as the fake blood pooling on the floor. One actor developed a stress-induced eye twitch from the repeated takes, adding unintentional authenticity to their fear response. Insurance representatives visited the set after complaints about safety protocols, forcing production to pause for half a day while new procedures were documented. A horror scene about fear of infection was filmed while everyone feared infection. Number 8. Selena wasn't written the way she ended up. Originally older, tougher, even male in early drafts before the role evolved into something different. Then lead actress Naomi Harris arrived and demanded something fiercer. She wanted a survivor who didn't wait for rescue, who made brutal decisions without hesitation. Harris brought intensity that scared some of the other actors. She didn't play Selena as a fighter, she played her as someone already dead inside, someone who killed emotions to survive. Boyle trusted her instincts completely. When she suggested changes to dialogue or blocking, he listened. Selena didn't bend to the story bent to her. Number 9. Weather slammed production mid-shoot, flooding carefully planned hospital set pieces. Water pooled in hallways, soaked equipment, ruined lighting setups that took hours to arrange. Instead of stopping and waiting for the rain to pass, crew rerouted lights, gear, angles, improvising in panic while the clock ticked and the budget bled. Scenes meant to be clear and sterile became dim and water-streaked. Reflections warped across wet floors. Shadows pooled in corners where light couldn't reach anymore. Boyle saw it happening and made a choice. Lean into the chaos instead of fighting it. What was supposed to feel clinical started feeling drowned, like the hospital itself was drowning under the weight of what happened inside it. The insurance company later classified the incident as negligent use of unsecured location and threatened not to cover water damage to equipment. A rainstorm nearly delayed filming and accidentally deepened the apocalypse. Number 10. Murphy's gaunt hospital look wasn't makeup or prosthetics. He dropped real weight fast to embody someone abandoned to decay for 28 days. Every rib, every hollow cheek was lived, not drawn. He stopped eating full meals weeks before filming began. He ran more, ate less, pushed his body into the shape of someone forgotten by the world. Murphy insisted the physical transformation was necessary. Jim couldn't just look lost. He had to look starved, dehydrated, barely alive. When he wakes in that hospital bed, his body tells the story before any dialogue does. It set the tone for a world already starving for hope. Jim didn't just wake into the apocalypse. His body already lived in it. Number 11. Studios pushed for optimism, for a hint that humanity might rebuild. Boyle pushed right back, delivering multiple endings, all bleak, just in different flavors. Test audiences watched 3 different versions, one where the characters die, one where they survive but remain haunted, one where rescue arrives but feels hollow. Fox wanted a crowd pleaser, Boyle wanted emotional honesty. The compromise was releasing the theatrical version with a survival ending that felt earned but uncertain, then including darker alternates on home video. Fans debated for years which ending was real. This world didn't allow easy escape. The only thing infected faster than people was the script notes demanding happier conclusions. Number 12. Before Naomi Harris reshaped her, Selena was written older, gruffer, possibly male in some early ideas. The role was meant to be a hardened soldier or survivalist, someone with military training and emotional detachment. Then Harris auditioned and everything shifted. She brought intensity, logic, ruthlessness wrapped in youth, a survivor who saves others by refusing softness, who makes impossible choices without flinching. Once Harris took the role, tone and and chemistry shifted instantly. She became the emotional anchor of the film, the character who understood the rules of this new world before anyone else did. Boyle and Garland rewrote entire scenes to fit her performance, giving her more agency and harder decisions. Selena wasn't a sidekick, she was the film's conscience. Cold and clear-eyed, one casting choice rewired the film's emotional core, because 28 Days Later needed someone who could survive anything, even herself. Number 13. The infected weren't random monsters. They had choreography, structure, intention, explosive sprints, then eerie stillness, violence without thought, then statuesque dread. Boyle enforced symmetry, breath patterns, stillness breaks. Every movement was designed to unsettle, to break audience expectations of how bodies move. Nothing borrowed from undead tradition. No shuffling, no moaning, no decaying flesh falling off bones. Everything built new from the ground up. Movement coaches drilled the actors for weeks, teaching them to move like predators, not corpses. The infected had to feel alive, dangerously alive, faster and more feral than uninfected humans. They studied animal attacks, watched footage of people in psychotic breaks, analyzed how bodies move when the mind shuts down. The result was movement that felt biological, not supernatural. Chaos had rules, making it feel even more real, because 28 Days Later didn't want movie monsters. It wanted something that could actually catch you. Number 14. That tunnel sequence wasn't shot on a soundstage with controlled lighting and safety protocols. It was filmed in a real tunnel packed tight, with live rats skittering in the darkness. Crew boxed in cars to create the tight space, limiting escape routes and oxygen flow. Actors felt panic climbing as space shrank and shadows moved in ways no one expected. The rats weren't trained, they were just rats, doing what rats do in tunnels, running, squeaking, brushing against boots and bare hands. Some actors broke character between takes, hyperventilating and asking to step outside. Boyle kept pushing, knowing the claustrophobia and fear were real and bleeding into the performances. Fear wasn't performed, it was endured, because 28 Days Later trapped its actors in the same terror it wanted audiences to feel. Number 15. Night shoots in a crumbling mansion with minimal padding and maximum impact. Bodies crashing through hallways and walls, fists connecting with faces, actors slamming into floors hard enough to leave bruises. Stunt teams walked away bruised and battered every morning. The fight choreography was designed to feel messy, desperate, not clean and choreographed. Boyle wanted realism at a price. He wanted every punch to land, every fall to hurt. Actors playing soldiers trained with real weapons learned to move like trained killers. Actors playing survivors fought back with raw desperation. Blood packs exploded across faces and walls, some bursting early and ruining takes. Crew medics treated split lips and twisted ankles between setups. The mansion became a war zone. The safest place in the film became the most painful set. Number 16. Dawn shoots without full permits drew civilian complaints within hours. Tourists tried to walk into closed-off streets. Early morning commuters honked and shouted. Police were called more than once to question the chaos crews were causing. Shutdown threats hovered over every morning shoot. Officers stood by with clipboards, checking permits, watching the clock. Some mornings, production wrapped early to avoid legal trouble. Some mornings, they pushed their luck and kept filming until police physically stepped in. Boyle and the producers spent half their time negotiating with authorities, promising to stay quiet, to move faster, to leave no trace. London nearly quarantined the filming of its own apocalypse, because making a movie about society collapsing nearly caused real disruptions in one of the world's busiest cities. Number 17. Pre-dawn call times. Cold mornings, bleak story, emotionally heavy scenes day after day without relief. Crew burned out under pressure and isolation themes that bled into real life. Some crew members quit mid-shoot, unable to handle the relentless darkness. Others pushed through but carried the weight home, dreaming about empty streets and infected faces. The film drained its own creators. Boyle noticed the toll and tried to lighten the mood between takes, cracking jokes and playing music. But the damage was done. Several crew members later admitted 28 Days Later was the hardest shoot they'd ever endured, not because of physical danger, but because of psychological weight. Production assistants reported insomnia, nightmares about infection spreading through their own lives. One camera operator took a week off mid-production, citing mental exhaustion. The apocalypse infected the set first, because sometimes making horror means living inside it longer than anyone should. Number 18. Actor Christopher Eccleston's Soldier wasn't meant to be terrifying. Originally written straighter, more protective, more structured. A man trying to hold order together in a world falling apart. Then Eccleston arrived and pushed darker, adding moral rot and predatory undertones Garland hadn't fully written yet. He turned order into horror, showing how good intentions collapse into violence when no one's watching anymore. His performance chilled audiences more than The Infected ever did. Boyle encouraged it, letting Eccleston explore the ugliest parts of survival instinct. Eccleston improvised lines that made other actors visibly uncomfortable, blurring the line line between character and threat. The most monstrous character still had a pulse. Eccleston later revealed he drew from real accounts of military breakdown in isolated conditions, researching soldiers who committed atrocities when command structures dissolved. Because the real horror isn't losing humanity to a virus, it's choosing to abandon it when no one's left to judge you. Number 19. Limited screens. Modest marketing. Critics unsure what to label it. Zombie film, virus thriller, art house horror. American audiences didn't rush to theaters opening weekend. Then whispers turned into shouts. Word of mouth lit the fuse. People who saw it told everyone. Film students dissected it. Horror fans declared it essential. Within months, 28 Days Later became the film everyone had to see. The one that changed the conversation about what horror could be. It resurrected a genre everyone claimed was dead. DVD sales exploded beyond studio projections, outselling the theatrical run 3-1. Underground screenings packed college campuses and independent theaters across the country. A movie about viral spread went viral. Midnight showings developed cult followings, with audiences returning multiple times to catch details they'd missed. Because sometimes the best marketing is a film too good to stay secret. Number 20. Alex Garland banned the word zombie on set. No undead magic, no supernatural resurrection, only rage-reducing humanity to instinct. The infected don't die first, they break first. Their hearts still beat, their lungs still breathe. They just lose everything that made them human except fury. Boyle and Garland wanted biological horror, not supernatural fantasy. They wanted something that could happen, something rooted in science and fear instead of mysticism. The script included consultation notes from virologists about how real infections spread and mutate. In this world, monsters don't rise from graves. They snap while standing right next to you. Horror didn't come from the grave, it came from within. The distinction mattered because it meant the infected could theoretically be cured, saved, brought back, which made killing them even more morally devastating. Because when monsters are just sick people, every act of survival becomes a tragedy. A film dismissed as an experimental DV art project becomes the blueprint for modern apocalypse cinema, shot on cameras anyone could afford. Released into a world still reeling from real terror, the audience didn't walk away scared. They walked away unsettled, haunted by empty streets and infected eyes that looked too much like their own. Now it lives in every zombie sprint, every handheld apocalypse, every film that chooses dread over spectacle. Because 28 Days Later wasn't about monsters. It was about us, breaking at the seams when the world stops making sense. What movie should dive into next?